Welcome to the Acknowledge Him podcast. This is Abinah Smith and my co-host Yofi Smith, and we are live. You see the title, you see the thumbnail. We're asking, is the progression of AI a bad thing? And this is a question that we don't necessarily, think about so much because most of us look at the new versions of AI as just ChatGPT. But there's so many other things that's out there. There's so many other things that's out there. I'm not saying all of us, but many of us do. There's so many things out there that can be different if it's not paid attention to. So I'm gonna give the floor to you for a little bit. What are your thoughts?
I think we definitely need to define AI now because when when speaking about something this large, and it is, if you haven't been
Morning, Matt.
outside or anything like that in the past 30, 40 years, this is artificial intelligence. So you have the real artificial intelligence, and then you have the matrix. And then you have Terminator, you have all of these things. And I really believe that this is where a lot of the discussion comes up because you have the concept of how far artificial intelligence can go. And then in all of these movies and television shows and all of that, artificial intelligence has pretty much been painted as the enemy. So with that, people, their imaginations go wild. So when you say AI, if you're thinking Arnold Schwarzenegger walking around, with the TA, what is it, the TI 800 or something, or you've got Agent Smith and all of these things, I really believe that we're getting the wrong idea about what artificial intelligence is. We forget certain things like go way back to Atari, right? There's artificial intelligence on that, like how a game can learn your moves. Go way back to, Super Nintendo, where you would play games like Street Fighter. When you have the difficulty set up, there's a system set in place. And by the time you're up to, Balrog or Sagat, it already has recorded several of your inputs. So it reacts differently. All of that stuff is artificial intelligence. So we kind of take out that and we skip straight to this artificial intelligence is trying to take over because I saw, you know, the 90s X-Men where the Sentinels were taking over the future and stuff and people are, or you're watching Dragon Ball Z and Trunks comes back from the future because of the androids. I was like, I think artificial intelligence, I think we kind of mix up what we're really talking about. So,
So with that, and I definitely get where you're coming from. I would say that's why I'm more so highlighting the progression of it because I do want to acknowledge that it's always been around. But would you say artificial intelligence being around for such a long time has just been tests run behind the scenes for so long to the part now we're getting the rollout of what they probably had working behind the scenes for decades now?
uh, that is a difficult question. And I cannot say, I can only say what I believe at the current time because there are parts of me that see like, oh, the government always releases things, decades after they already have it. There's that. And then there's a part of me that's saying they're not that much further ahead than what we have. The reason there's reason to believe both, but see, and then you feel like you're in conspiracy mode, right? And I'm not. I don't have my tinfoil hat on today. But the thing is when you think of the government holding back, the best of the best, I get the idea of, the whole arcane knowledge and the conspiracy. But then I think, why? when the government is here to make the most progress, as long as they have control over it, why wouldn't they release it for everyone else? Let me give an example. The FBI has admitted, this was like 10 years ago I saw this news report. The FBI admitted that they use social media. They use social media to track people. So, and what do I mean by that? I mean, let's say that I take a selfie, my wife and I were taking a picture, and there just so happens to be somebody on the wanted list, and he was in the background of that picture. Facial recognition software has been around, and now they can use their facial recognition software combined with all of the pictures on Facebook or YouTube. And if I took this picture 15 minutes ago, and then boom, facial recognition software has got, so and so on it. Well, it's been 15 minutes since we last saw this guy. So my thing is, why would the government not want those things out there? Because they can use it to their benefit and bypass the right to privacy. They can bypass all of these things. And with that, not to say that the government's all evil and things like that. Do I believe that there are evil people? Yes. But as far as the government system itself, no. I just look at it as they would use artificial intelligence to their advantage as much as they can. And then when you're talking about releasing it, all I look at is there are people who now are using it, and the government's like, I see that. That's good. See how much money it makes and see what it can do for us. That's just the way that I look at it. I'm not looking at it as we've had this for 20 years. And in fact, if you look right now, we're men in black. We've got like the noisy cricket gun, and you guys just can't use that yet. Like, I don't see it as that. I don't see it as them being that competent. So, and that's my opinion, just Yofi's opinion. Some people believe that, they're hanging out with Alf backstage.
Nah, it's like I definitely agree with you. It's it's tricky because, like you said, the government. I tell people all the time, it's like people are worried about the government tracking down their phone calls. I'm like, if they could find people in a hole in other countries, you're not impossible to find. So let's knock that out. So it's like AI using this or using software to um, misrepresent you. I think that's the case where people are getting at with like ChatGPT. ChatGPT, the paid version, there's some really cool things you can do with it. Where, as you know, you used it. You could actually use voice recognition and talk to it as if it's a human being. And the reason why I ask is that harmful is because will this bring a matter of fact, even Facebook has it actually. Facebook has AI bots that you can chat with on regular. And my question is, would this feed into a demographic of people who classify themselves as introverts and don't want to be around nobody, but they have these AI bots that can feed the natural human need for community, and they could be under the illusion that they have community because they could speak with these AI bots.
Why not ban the internet to keep the libraries open? Right. That's my line with that. I took it from iRobot, another one of the conspiracy AI movies. But I'm going to have to side with the technology on this one. And mind you, they have, I want to talk about that too, that comment. But it's just w- when we consider the possibility of evil, I believe that the emphasis is placed more on the tools and not the people. You know, like we're talking about banning guns. That's not going to stop evil people from getting guns and shooting people. Or even if you did ban guns, go way back to Genesis. Well, I guess if God banned rocks, then Cain wouldn't have killed Abel. And like there's nothing that you can do to force someone to love someone else. So we're talking about not having artificial intelligence because people who label themselves as introverts will build up a false community in their head. Well, people were doing that with role playing games. You better believe that when, can I admit that maybe I'll just say for Yofi. When Yofi was a little kid, no Jesus, he's going around and he was Cloud Strife. Okay. I had the biggest crush on Tifa, hated Eris. I was glad when she died. I'm like, I mean, I had all of these weirdo thoughts in my head, right? When I saw a Goofy movie and had like a crush on Roxanne. I mean, like it's just people build their own communities in their heads. That's going to happen with anything. And it was happening hundreds of years ago before the printing press when people would get their hands on a new book, they would go and get immersed into that world. People would thousands of years ago, Sims. All right, you have all of these things that are happening, and what we're doing is we're blaming things like the Sims. We're blaming the book. We're blaming the video game. We're blaming the movie. And I'm like, why don't we just teach our children
This sounds
from the
familiar.
get-go instead of, well, let's just take everything away. And I understand certain things I wouldn't even put in front of my kids anyway. Certain things, if they're going to have, vulgarity and certain types of scenes and things like that, I'm not putting that in front of my kids anyway. I wouldn't watch that, especially being from where I came from. I used to be heavily addicted to all types of things, don't want to get demonetized. What I'm saying is that to say, all right, for my children, we're not actually going to watch anything. There's going to be no form of entertainment at all. It's going to be you, a Bible, and that's it. But then they won't know how to actively defend against anything. We're not able to tell the difference. So, no, we don't have seances in my house, but my son knows what a seance is, and he knows exactly why. So I believe that the emphasis is based on is should be more placed on people.
Don't blame.
People are going to
Don't
do evil stuff. How do we go around that?
stop putting emphasis on, well, why was the tree here? Put more emphasis on, well, why did you eat from it? Basically,
Exactly. There's going to be a tree of knowledge of good and evil every single day for you to eat from. God said, don't eat from it. He didn't say, I'm taking the tree out so that you don't have a choice. He's saying there's going to be a serpent that comes up into your garden. What are you going to do about it? You're the floor manager, So what do you do about it? Well, gee, there is ChatGPT, and we could talk about that for a minute. ChatGPT, people are like, it's the end of the world. And it's always the end of the world. You realize that everything is always the end of the world. Why is everything always the end of the world? It's been
since
the end of the world.
Y2K,
It's
since
been
Y2K,
remember all of the computers were going to shut down, and then everybody were going to lose your social security number and all of these things. And I'm just like, Y2K. And Chris Jericho made a lot of money off of it with Y2J gimmick. I mean, why? Because you realize how people get with things. So it's like, think about this. ChatGPT is going to shut everything down. There was a conversation of a child having a conversation with ChatGPT, and it was a demon. And I'm like, I'm not sure if you understand how artificial intelligence works, but the only way that it will be talking to you as if it were a demon is if you programmed it that way. So you are actually programming Chat GPT as you talk to it. That's how artificial intelligence works. It's a program. It's not Mega Man. It doesn't have a mind of its own and it's going around shooting, you know, and I'm just super fighting robot. No, it's not like that. When you program, anybody who knows this about code, if you put code in, it's going to do exactly what you tell it to do. If you tell it to take 3 steps to the right and then turn left, that's what it's going to do.
you
Now, if
gotta
you
stop
tell it to
playing.
take 3 steps to the left and there's something in the way, it's still going to take 3 steps to the left. It's just going to fall because it tripped over something and then still try to input the commands. That's how artificial intelligence works. It doesn't bring a mind of its own in and then add in. That's the video game. That's the iRobot, the Terminator portion that
And
that
that's kind of what I want to touch on too. It's like there's no profitability in making Chat GPT or any form of AI sentient. There's no profitability in that. These things exist to make money, period. When you put it in just basic terms like that, these things exist to make money. So it will never become sentient, it becomes out of control, and the human race is in danger because there's no profitability in that. And anyone and everyone who's in code can already foresee all the way down the line of, well, wait, this could go far. This could be a dangerous thing if we could do this. So let's not go down that route. You're not gonna have that. So that's for one. But what I did want to put in, because not so much with Chat GPT, and welcome everyone to the chat, by the way. Hey Taiwan, hey Jessica, thank you Cindy for your comment. Let's actually, I will, before I get to my next point, I wanted to touch on Cindy's comment because she said, I truly believe they are tracking all phone activity. I don't believe it's to track criminals. I believe it's all part of the future agenda. I think in the near future, we will 100% be controlled in every part of life, what we buy, where we go, what we own. Um, you want to take that one, or you want me to talk on that one? Which one?
you sure you want me to speak on that? Because
We could both speak on this. Um, so thank you for your comment, first of all. And I do agree that the tracking could probably exceed far beyond criminals. That's probably the primary. There's always a primary and a secondary objective. So yes, I agree tracking criminals is the primary objective. Secondary is up in the air. But in terms of 100% being controlled in every part of life and what we buy, where we go, and what we own, I will say that it all depends on on what side of the fence of where you worship. And this is where, hold up, this is where I am bringing the Father into the mix. If you are worshiping the Father, go through all out history, not just the Bible. Go all throughout history. He has provided and he has made ways in which that would seem impossible. Children of Israel, he parted a whole sea for them for over 1 million people to cross. And mind you, to put that in context, you have never seen 1 million people all at once. The largest stadium you've ever seen pales in comparison to how many people crossed the Red Sea thousands of years ago. Now, I'm not saying to you in general, Cindy. I'm gonna make that clear. I'm just saying you in the general term. So in all retrospect, I want to say that it all depends on where you worship, and you could be. And I say there's been times if you want to go past the Bible, in those times there was people who became Christians when they knew it was a death sentence. And I think we need to let that sit in. They didn't let that stop them from doing what they do, where they worship or anything. They said, I'm going to worship, and it's either this or I die. And that's missing from Western culture heavily. But go ahead, brother.
yeah, also thank you for the comment. It takes a lot to speak out, and that should be noted. I can you put up the comment one more time? I disagree. I disagree. I used to think this way, and I'm going to say that I disagree and why because I owe that much. I don't believe in the same, Illuminati conspiracy that I used to because I am getting more and more involved with spiritual concepts and I am understanding exactly how unorganized Satan is. We say these things like the devil is organized and all that. An organization comes from God. The devil is not organized. There's no plan with demons. They are not, they act only on their impulses. And their kingdom is set up based on fear. So if we fear that they have 100% control, then they'll be able to. That's just the way that when you fear them, you worship them. And we're like the powers that be. What powers? They don't have any power. Jesus has all power. So I start to, as I operate, and I'm talking about healing the sick. I'm talking about miraculous healings. We've seen so many things of God's power in operation, that this whole the government is going to track everything that you do. I mean, there, like you said, there's twofold. First of all, what are you afraid of being tracked on? Not you, Cindy, but you in general. Because for me, I want to be tracked. I want you to see what I'm doing, not in the sense of pride, but in a sense of, if I get lost, it'd be really good to be tracked. Okay. If somebody kidnaps me, at that point, now you want to be tracked. We don't want to be tracked when, well, they can see what I'm doing. And I think to myself, what am I doing that's so private that it can't be seen? Now, granted, there are, you've got intimate moments with your spouse. I'm talking about, trying not to get demonetized. But what I'm saying is that no, you're not talking about putting a camera in your room and recording that and putting it in public. What I'm saying is that this idea of being tracked, you have an IP address, you're already tracked. If you have a social security number, you're already tracked. If you have a bank account, you're already tracked. There are so many ideas that I don't think that we take into consideration when thinking about the idea of being tracked. We leave footprints everywhere, digital footprints. You put your name and sign up for school. That's a digital footprint. Okay. You write a book. That's a footprint. If you put a post online, that's a footprint. This comment itself that you left is a footprint because it's timed, dated, and your IP address tells you exactly the location, whether you have location on or off. It it's all tracked. So we're already to the point to where we're being tracked with everything that we do. The question is, are we doing something that's worthy of being tracked? Now, if you're committing crimes, they'll find you. Now, we look into this dystopian future of, if you're a Christian, then they'll track you and they'll find you and they'll catch you. But the beautiful thing about Christianity is, who cares? If they track us and they find us and they kill us, then they're putting us closer to the Father than we've ever been in the first place. So I don't see anywhere where fear comes in. I think fear comes in when, once again, we're watching iRobot, we're watching Enemy of the State, we're watching The Matrix, we're watching Terminator, we're watching all of these things that say that technology is the bad guy. Whereas what I see it as, there are people who I speak to across the world, you know, who are encouraged in Christ because of the technology that we're using. If technology was the bad guy, how many people would not hear the gospel? How many people have heard the gospel this week? You know, Whereas on the other side, how many people have engaged in certain addictive behaviors using technology? So it's not the technology, it's what you're doing with it that I really believe that we have to focus on. And if we focus on fear, you're going to get fear, because whatever you seek, you'll find. If you keep knocking on the door of fear, then the door is going to be open. If you keep seeking sickness, you're going to get it. So what are you seeking? If you're seeking demons, well, then you're going to get it. Demon, come out. Demon, come out. You're going to get more demons, because all you do is talk about demons. That's all you do. That's all you do is talk about fear. That's all you're going to get. And the people around you, that's what they're going to get.
Cat's out the bag. So Thank you for your question, Cindy. Oh, she said, yes, I absolutely agree on that. It speaks in the Bible what we as Christians face with following Christ in the last days. I see that coming to light also. You can put a sexual video and take a guy's name in vain on social media, and that's acceptable. I made a comment, my dog was chunky and got flagged and a warning. I've had many warnings. That's just a small example. Yes, I agree. Who cares if they track us because all Christians will be exposed in the world as bad.
Can we talk about that? Can we hit that very, because that is an amazing
Go
uh,
for it.
thing right there. Where you talked about you got flagged for saying that your dog was chunky. Okay, and there are so many things. I got flagged on YouTube. A video of mine was shut down for apparently going against the vaccines and things. It was a video, and this is hilarious. Cindy, you're gonna love this. It was about the mark of the beast and about how vaccines are not the mark of the beast. I do not believe that the vaccines, when COVID was really big and everything. And YouTube shut down my video. I appealed it. They shut it down. They will not let it, exist. I can't have access to it anymore. But amazingly, it got shut down when my video had 666 views. So it was amazing. Like when it got 666, they flagged it, they stopped it, and it can't get in. I was just like, that's hilarious. So, but the thing is if they shut down that video, they have every right to do that. It's their platform. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or X rather now. It's his platform. He can rename it X if he wants to, and they can flag whatever they want. It's their
Let's
system.
go and give it to you.
So what I believe the solution is not saying, oh, they're the powers that be. They have all the power. There's nothing we can do. Start your own. Okay. That's just start your own. But nobody's going to sign up for it. Then now that's once again, that's not a YouTube problem. That is a people problem. That's not AI. That's not it. If you are willing to go to a platform that will flag you for saying Jesus is king, and you are willing to stay on that platform and not support a Christian platform because it might cost money or something, that's a you thing. That's not an AI. That's not the end of the world because the powers that be. You're making a choice. If we go back to the first century church, they had need of nothing. They didn't have to go into the world system for anything because they supported each other. They supported each other. They laid money at the apostles' feet. Whoever had need of anything, you have debt. Okay, we got 100 people here. If you have $50,000 in debt, it doesn't take a lot of money from 100 people. It takes a lot of money from one person. But that's what we do, is that we kind of feel like we're just so separated, and if somebody needs help, the church is not really doing that. But I tell you what, I am going to post on Facebook, though. I am going to post on Twitter. I'm going to post on TikTok. I'm going to post on all of these things, and I'm going to make them a boatload of money. But when it comes to my brothers and sisters, I'm going to ask them for a discount. I'm going to make sure that, I'm going to pay $300 for Michael Jordan shoes. Michael Jordan doesn't need a dime of your money, but in order to feel like I have status and class and to be seen, I'm going to get the highest paid shoes. I'm going to fight. You see people fighting over those, and then they'll post on Sunday, you know, they'll have these twerking videos or all of these things, and you'll be in those videos. You'll do that. And then on Sunday, it's just like, bless God. But the people of God who actively have businesses, we're not in there. So I look at that as, it's not that everybody's being blocked. We're kind of blocking ourselves because we won't support our brothers and sisters in the way that we will. We will brag about paying our bills. We will not brag about supporting a Christian business. We will brag about Twilight and all of these books that we have, but you won't buy your brother's book, your sister's book. So I'm just like, we should be the first ones on a Christian social media platform. We should be the first ones to do it. And if you don't know how to start your own social media platform and you are so concerned about it, then you should what is it? Get with the people, network, use the technology. You can find people all across the world and you can actually do that.
I'm going to shout out somebody. This, my sister right here, Hannah, is somebody who is starting Christian communities, specifically with worship leaders. Y'all need to get with her. And I have other people who are actually doing that. I know more people. My brother here, his wife, there are Christian businesses that are starting. And it's like the here's the thing. I'm gonna say something, and this may seem controversial, but your surroundings are often a testament of what you consume or what you consume on the daily, what you're willing to consume. If you're willing to consume like just if you have nothing but electronics around you, it shows that you're mostly someone who wants to just consume entertainment most of the time. Most of the time, if you just have TV, cell phone, computer, some people use it for creation, of course, but if the use of your stuff is mostly to use up time, it shows. And a lot of people get on social media because that's what it is. It's a time fill. And if you're just using your day for a time fill, is AI or ChatGPT or any of these AI softwares the real problem? Because all these things do is just amplify where we really are. There we go. Musical creatives who serve within the church, worship leaders, worship pastors, musicians, BGV, choir directors, etc. There we go. Sorry, I didn't want to. There you go. There's your thunder. I didn't want to steal your thunder. But to take it further, because I do want to address some parts that I did see with AI that had me go, that's interesting, but that's concerning. Where you can have voices of actual well-known people say things that they never said. In its infancy, that it seems completely harmless. It seems completely harmless to have Chris Sabat to do a rap song over, some lyrics that you have written and everything. Completely, completely harmless. But I start thinking, if this can grow, and if the wrong person with enough money to back it up could say, this person said this to me in a voice note and my life was threatened and it was AI generated. What are the parameters to stop that or to come against that? How does one properly defend themselves, especially, I'm going to take it a step further, if they don't have enough to pay for a lawyer who can get the money to do the check to see if this was AI generated or not?
Yeah, that could be a problem. And let's take it back because I always go back to times change, people don't. The same things that were happening yesterday are happening today. Back when the printing press was first invented, they ran into this issue. What if somebody prints enough copies of something that, if I were living back then, that Yofi did not say and has his seal stamp on it? And you have a powerful enough company that prints all of this stuff and Yofi did not say it. You've got that it's always been around. What if somebody, now that you have the ability to create social media accounts, now you've got masquerading. There's always evil going to water is wet. There's always going to be somebody who does something evil. That's why I said, people, be aware of what's going on. Don't hide in a corner somewhere and not You know how there are certain I don't want to bash any religions or anything like that or any cultures, but the whole cutoff idea, I'm not saying immerse yourself because that's where baptism comes from. I don't want anybody to baptize into the culture, but you've got to be wise as a serpent here. And if you know that there's AI that's going to generate certain things, talk to the person. Okay. You have to speak to Chris Sabat has to come up and say, there are things going around that there's a big rap video going around with my likeness. It's not me. We're going to have to be aware of how to address these issues because it is new. But just like when the printing press was new, if somebody printed off a bunch of articles with your name on it, you would have to make a statement to as many people as you can and say, it's not me, just like with the printing press. So now you have it to where it's AI. And I saw Frank Sinatra do Cruel Angel Thesis from Evangelion. I mean, like in Japanese, Frank Sinatra's, come on. Like, so, and it was a jazz type thing. And I was just like, that is amazing. It's not because I love the song so much. I don't. What I'm saying is that I was actually impressed that this is what technology can do. So it is scary, but then so was when the internet first got up. What are the implications and what can be done? So you're going to have people who have evil websites. You're going to have people do things, but then look at what good can be done with it as well. And when you focus on doing good, you have less time to focus on doing bad. We can have people address the bad things. We can have people address those types of things. And if you're very concerned, then you address it because evil exists when good people do nothing. That is a that's something that I really stick by. If you're doing nothing about it, then it's your fault. Remember that Mortal Kombat movie? Remember that where Liu Kang was so upset he wanted revenge because Shang Tsung killed his brother, and Raiden, the god of thunder and lightning. He's like, if you really are Raiden, if you really are God, then why didn't you protect my brother? And Raiden's like, why didn't you? I say that to a lot of people. Why aren't you doing something if the world is so bad and these technologies are going to destroy us? Why are you doing nothing about it? The only thing that you're doing is going around shouting at everybody that we're going to die. And I don't think that's what Jesus was doing. Everybody, we're going to die. Everybody, beware the technology. Nero's coming. Everybody, no, Jesus was out healing the sick, okay, raising the dead, cleansing lepers, feeding the hungry, giving shelter to those who had no shelter. Jesus was out there actively doing something. So I believe that the cure is not to be afraid of the bad that's going to come out of it. Bad things are going to happen. There are 8 billion people on the planet. Somebody is committing murder right now. Now I'm not saying dress up like a bat and go out into the street and beat everybody up. What I'm
Come on
saying
now.
is,
Stop.
is that, you
Stop.
know, I'm because that's not the solution. But what I'm saying is that there's always going to be somebody doing something bad. But
You're
if
not vengeance.
Christians, the light of the world actually becomes the light of the world, I believe bad places, shadows have very little places to hide when light is everywhere. But if the light is not doing anything, well,
So
yeah,
then,
on that.
so then that brings me to my last point that I want to just discuss. We know next year is going to be a very important year when it comes to elections. And with just how 2023 was just a rollout with a whole bunch of AI software, good, crazy, whatever side of the fence you want to call it on. Do you believe that this can influence the election in both positive or in a negative way?
Yeah, it's just there's going to be positives and negatives. It depends on which side of the spectrum you see it. When you talk about presidential elections, you have many who looked at the technology using mail-in ballots to say that the election was stolen. I am one who believes that there was some fraud going on somewhere, because I've never seen an election take several days, weeks, months in order to decide something. So for me, my skepticism went up and just like, what something happened. Now, when you have it to where you have all of this kinds of technology and people can fake videos, and I saw something. I'm not the biggest fan of AOC. I'm not particularly fond of her and where she stands and what she does. I'm from a Christian point of view. There are a lot of things that the left do that I am not in agreement with. However, there was a video of her and people were making fun of her and doing all types of things. And I could tell, I was like, this is AI. That is not her. And I actually commented. I don't really comment on a lot of things, but I was just like, this is not right. I said, I don't agree with the certain things that she says and certain things that she does. If we were to meet, we probably wouldn't be friends. But this is not right. You're taking her likeness in order to try and push a political agenda to do something wrong. It was you're trying to get people to not follow her. And if somebody is truly evil, let's say that she is evil. That's not for me to say, right? And especially not on this podcast. But if she's truly evil, then if we're doing good, then evil is going to expose itself. But it is a dangerous thing. It must be said. There are people who I've seen videos of Joe Biden. They are not Joe Biden, and I don't mind the people who know me know. I do not like what Joe Biden has done. I am not in favor of anything of Joe. I was this close to going Trump 2024. Like I'm just that disappointed with the administration. However, to lie on the administration using AI, I would sooner vote for them than for you. Because if you're willing to do those types of things, then that shows what type of person you are. So that's what I believe. When it comes to the election, what are you willing to do to win? If you're willing to do that, then for me, you wouldn't have my vote at all, ever, because that what you do is a sign of who you are. Like you said in the beginning, it's not the AI, it's you. If you're willing to do that in order to get a vote, I've seen that when people. I know you're not supposed to talk about who you voted for, but we had the elections this month. In my mail, I never receive anything from candidates, and then all of a sudden, I received all of this stuff about how evil the person was who was in my county. You best believe I did not vote for you just because. I legit I put Ash Ketchum in the box. And then on the other one,
This man.
I voted for Pikachu in the thing just because I was like, I will not vote for you if you're willing to do
Somebody
evil.
clip that.
Somebody clip that. I'm so serious. I told people I was just like, I voted for Ash Ketchum, and then on the other one, I voted for Pikachu because I refuse to vote for people who are going to use the technology. In this sense, it was the snail mail is still a form of technology, right? But you are using that to badmouth and defame people. Because I was like, I don't even know anything about the candidates. The only thing that I know is evil and more evil. So I was just like, okay, I'm not going to not vote. I am going to vote, but I'm not going to vote for you just because. I just want it to be known. So it's like we have to really navigate in a world that does have evil in it because there are evil people. We're in a fallen creation. So knowing that there are serpents in the garden, how do you respond? Are you going to respond like Adam or are you going to respond like Jesus? So that's really it is going to affect the election. We just have to know that because there are going to be people who respond like Adam. You can't control that. It's going to affect it. But what do we do? Do you think it's the Republican Party doing that? I don't know if it's the Republican Party. I just saw it. It was a TikTok, so it was just a person uh, um, doing that. It was just a person who was spreading an AI video. So I don't know as far as the party. I'm not that into politics. Um, I'm not Republican or Democrat. I'm not represented by either of them. I think that when it comes to politics, people just fight. And as long as the other person is evil, then I have the moral high ground and I can rest easy. That's what I think that a lot of people are doing.
Yeah,
But um, I don't even believe it's the party. It's just like that with the powers that be. I don't think it's the powers that be. I think that there's just evil people doing evil stuff. And then somebody's
that
starting it.
seems to be that seems to be the summarization of just the whole AI. It's not the tool, it's the people that use the tool. It's not the guns, it's the people that use the guns. It's not the if you want to take it back to the before guns, it's not the swords, the people using the swords. It's not it's never the object. It's the people who created the objects. It's the
The
people
spoon didn't
who
make you fat. It's not
yeah,
the
sure
spoon.
didn't. Yeah, your arm connected to the spoon going into Ben and Jerry's made you fat.
Ben and Jerry's didn't make you fat. You going into Ben and Jerry's every single
That's not
day.
bad. That's not bad. With the spoon connected to
You know what I
that.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not the spoon.
It's
It's not
like
the fact that money exists that made you evil. Money is the root of all evil. No, it's
that
you
is that
loving money
where does it say
over,
that?
huh?
I said, where does it say that? I don't my Bible says something different.
Bible
I
does
mean
not
I
say money is evil.
my
It says,
Bible says something different.
yeah, the Bible does
I
not.
I think I know I read money answer for all things. Then I
Yeah,
said the
I
love
say
of
that.
money
I
is the
believe
root
that
of all
it
evil.
makes room for you. It's talking about money. It's supposed to make room for you and put you before kings. You're supposed to have money. But when you love that above your brother, then you're going to use money to tear down your brother. It's
Yep.
you. It's all about you and the way that you're thinking. And I know that I'm going to trigger some people when I say this, but it's just like it's all about God. No, it isn't. It's all about you. Because Jesus said that with the first and second law, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. But the second law is just like it, which means that if you don't do the second law, you're not doing the first. In other words, you're doing the first law by doing the second. Love your
Mm-hmm.
neighbor as God loves you. When you don't love your neighbor, it proves that you don't love God, which means that by loving your neighbor, you are loving God. So if you have this issue with money and you're willing to tear down your neighbor in order to get it, that shows that you don't love God.
And also, too, just to take it a step further than that, some people get a lot of money so they can move in a place where they're not around a lot of people and everything. And we use money in a sense to avoid people. That's in a sense. That's why people, when they have a lot of money, they get, and I'm not condemning nobody who do. You do this, that's fine. That's your choice. But people get a lot of money to take private jets to different places where I'm not against a private jet. If you would take a private jet, take one. There's no sin in that. But I'm showing where when you have a lot of money, the heart can often become selfish and not community driven, and
Hmm.
not see it as an opportunity to serve no matter where you go. And the thing is, you're called to be a light. So how can you shine if everywhere you go is already illuminated and already has light? How can you shine if you go, everywhere you go, you see people who are like you? Jesus even speaks about that. He said, the sinners are already could love their own and everything. So Jesus already clarifies that the sinners are capable of love. They're capable of doing an action that can only come from God without Him.
Hmm.
So it's
But
so
it's
it's
who
like,
they do it to. Who are
huh?
they doing it to? I think that's
Exactly.
the thing is that when you talks about love your neighbor, who is your neighbor? Well, my neighbor is my wife. That's your closest neighbor. And a lot of people don't do that. They do ministry and they don't love their own wives. You know what I mean? Like if you're oh my goodness, because it feels like it's judgmental, but I think that it has to be said. You're divorcing your husband, but you're doing Christian ministry. No, no, no. Like I don't think that we see this, right? Like your neighbor is the one who you don't get along with. Okay. For a Jew, your neighbor is the Gentile, the Samaritan. For a husband, let's face it, men and women are different. It's easy to be in a gay marriage because men are the same. I can get along with Abaddon a lot better than my wife sometimes. But I'm called to love my wife before I love Abaddon. Why? Because women are different. Men and women are different. So
And
it's powerful when you love somebody who's not the homeless man who can do nothing for you.
I
You
think
have to pass by them.
I won't even touch on that with just men and women. It's like I think it'll be really good for men and women to understand how different that we are. That men are more outwardly expressive, and then women are more inwardly expressive naturally. Not to
Mhm.
say that neither two can be, but just look. If you just even look at biological makeup and everything, that's just how men are designed. Men are designed to be are more outwardly expressive,
Mhm.
and so more so women. So it's like you have to learn. The reason why it's a challenge because you have to learn how to respond and communicate inwardly when you're dealing with women, and for women they need to learn how to communicate outwardly when they deal with men. That's why there's always a clash between the
Mhm.
two. And
And it's a good thing. It is a
the
good
thing
thing
is,
to clash and learn how to love. That's what Adam was supposed to do with Eve. Learn to love her. It's not a good thing that you're by yourself, man. It's not a good thing for you to sit there and instead of going to become friends with your wife, you're becoming friends with ChatGPT. Now you're using AI for the wrong thing because you're trying to be that introvert and we can all be guilty of that. How many times have we disconnected from the world and just pulled out our phones and gone on social media? Because you can block anybody who doesn't agree with you, anybody who doesn't look like you, anybody who doesn't think like you. If you're Black Lives Matter, you can cut off anybody who's not Black Lives Matter. If you're not Black Lives Matter, you can cut off all of the Black Lives Matter. And then you can set up your algorithm to where you only get videos of the left politics or the right politics or Jesus only or like it's just we form our own worlds of people who are just like us, and then you wonder why you can't be married. You wonder why your marriage doesn't work. You're not willing to even look.
be
The spiritual
challenged.
living here. Look, okay, well, I'm going to deal with it. No, you don't deal with it. You just disconnect and pull out your phone. That's what Adam was doing in the garden. The serpent
And
was talking to his wife, and Adam's on the phone. He's on.
we're not going to talk about that right now. We'll be here for another hour if we get into that because you know how we get into the Book of Genesis. But Cindy, I appreciate your comments. We see all of them. Thank you so much, Hannah, Cindy, everyone who's been commenting. We appreciate you all. Any questions? We're in Q&A mode right now before we get off. So any questions from anyone who's still watching?
And
But
while they're doing that, I do want to say, as far as a positive, and this, um, something like ChatGPT. I like to write. Now, I'm an author. I love to write. And I saved myself thousands of dollars editing with ChatGPT. Okay. Because I can have ChatGPT go through, and not only was I able to save with editing by going through like scene by scene. If I have a novel or if I have, I've written plays, things like that. I've gone through them with ChatGPT, right? And well, they're going to steal it with copyright. There goes that fear again that the AI is going to do it. And if they do, look, okay. But here's the thing. I've gone through. I wrote a movie once when I was younger. I would never do this now because I don't even play video games. But I wrote a movie script of a game. Right? It was like 100 pages. I found an old copy from like 15 years ago. I just redid the whole thing. Right? And I went through scene by scene with ChatGPT in like 2 hours. And this thing analyzed my characters. This thing analyzed the scenes. It showed me the weakness of the scenes. Talk about how you didn't build up this character enough. I didn't even tell it the title, and it told me, yeah, a lot of these are tropes from The Legend of Zelda. It knew that it was a Legend of Zelda movie. Like it was just like it was able to point out. So based on this, it has similarities with this. This is actually some fan. It pointed out the Easter eggs that I put in there. So I was just like, it was able to do that and said like fans would appreciate an Easter egg over here and this. And then, it also told me like the weaknesses of how I can stretch it out. And then I said, but if this were a movie, and then they said, yeah, you don't want to stretch out in this category because a movie script is viewed as basically each page is a minute. And if you're on page 180, you're up to 3 hours. Now, of course, I wasn't up to 180 pages. I was only up to 100 pages. But the thing is that it was able to go through and actively tell me the strengths and weaknesses. And it even generated a scene for a sequel that I didn't even start just because I asked it to. I'm like, there are a lot of things that you can do that would, I was like, yeah, like Hannah said, that's an intern. The thing read the whole thing for me in 2 hours. If I were to have somebody, here's a script, read it. It would take them days to go through it. They have all of these things. But if you're using the technology for the right reasons, it's the same as a musician using the technology to help, edit out, certain things. So I was just like, you have to learn what to use it for. Are there going to be people who use it for evil? Then yes, but you can use it for something else. So with that said, you have a question.
Yeah, the question is actually for you. What you said on "It's Up to Us" to possibly start a platform. How? I think is more than possible to do and build a mass and build massive, but I also think it's going to take an army to do this. You mind how to take this one?
Yeah. I was gonna say, good thing we're an army.
Because I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say, yeah. Here's the thing. And I see that you're a woman of God, so I'm gonna use this reference. It took it took an army for Israel really be a nation. Israel did a lot of things before they wandered in the wilderness. They were actually doing good things. It was actually going across. Well, not they was doing big things to the best of their ability. I'm not gonna all call it good. It was complaining the whole way through. But either way, the purpose is community. There are so many people who are willing to build. They just don't have somebody who has the vision. So in many cases, if you're the visionary and you're somebody who sees the vision, you need to actually write it down. That's why the scripture in Habakkuk 2 is important. Write down what God is showing you, the exact thing from every little detail. Write it down and then pray and ask God to send you people who can help you this. With some of my clients, this is what I asked them to do. I said, instead of asking God, how can I do this? Start asking God, who can help me do this? And I promise you, your prayers are going to be answered in a way that you never imagined. And I was telling you to go there too, by the way, with the point she was making.
There and to back up my brother on that one, in Christ. I know we have the same last name, guys, but we're actually brothers in Christ. We're not actually even brothers, but that's really cool. So, But what's really cool is that we are an army. We may not know exactly where everyone is and what their function is, but that's where the prayers come in. Like our brother just said, you got to pray and just say, Lord, send me the people to help with this. I was praying for years, as far as because my passion is to help men be men. There are too many jellyback men, right? And I get it that the system is not for us, right? The system will pay a woman to have children out of wedlock. Okay. If you're married, the government is not really helping you, right? So when you have a woman who has 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 kids with 8 different baby daddies, she's getting checks. And all of those baby daddies are getting locked up, right? So you have a lot of issues with the system. However, I was praying to the Lord to minister to men because I really believe that we can do this. We're just not told that. We're missing that Jacob blessing from the father. Where your dad, where was your dad? Where was your dad? Did your dad ever bless you? And I can give you this testimony if we have time, right? Can I Give that. All right. So my wife and I, we were in sin. Okay, we weren't even married, and we were pregnant out of wedlock, and that scared me. I walked into traffic. It's like some people had to pull me back. I was like that because I used to be depressive. I had 3 suicide attempts by the time I was 17. Okay, like, so when I gave my life to the Lord, but I was still not all in. My wife and I, we were pregnant out of wedlock, and that scared me. That scared me because I didn't believe that I could ever even be a father, right? So what happened was is that even like the pastor knew, like it's just like there's like almost nothing that we could do for this guy right now. We can support him, but he is really freaked. So I called my father. Now, mind you, my mother had always told me that she had. I remember I was going to join the Navy, and she stopped me from joining the Navy because she told me that I can do anything, right? And that was the first time that I had really heard that from her, but I never heard that from my father. I never heard that from him. So I'm down in the South and my father's up north. And, I just tell him that it's an emergency. And he came down all the way down. And when I told him, and I'm like a big hypocrite, mind you, he's not even a believer in Christ like me. I don't even think he's a believer in Christ now that I was back then. But it's just like when I told them what happened, and I just knew he's going to be ashamed. And he told me, he just said, the mistakes that I've made, he's like, you are way further ahead in life than I was when I was your age. And he's just like, and then he told me, like, I don't use this word anymore, but he told me that he was proud of me and that he really believed in what I was doing. Mind you, he's not into Christ like I am, but he's told me to continue and told me that, like, he basically blessed me. And when he did that, my entire life changed, right? My entire life changed when my father told me that I was a man, you know? So a lot of the things that are happening, I believe it's because we don't have men who are told that they're men. We're just looking for it. And we're looking for it in sex and drugs and violence and all of these things. So I'm like, I've been praying to God for years to minister to men. And then when we have it all written down and everything, and a job opened up for me to work with men. I mean, so now I'm getting paid to work in a prison system, the men that we lost. And there are already people in there who already know who I am just because. I mean, like, people there's some who are getting saved, some who are getting delivered, some who are getting, and I'm just like, God, I prayed for this. It's not in the exact way that I thought it would come, but this is a ministry for men, right? For men. So yeah, and yeah, right. We were in Africa and they prayed. I didn't even tell them that I wanted to work with men, but they prayed for a ministry of men to be opened up. When we got back to America, that job opened up. So I'm like, write down what it is, pray, and doors will begin to open. And you're going to have the courage and boldness to walk through those doors to get that. If you believe that a social media ministry can be started, there's one who tried to open up one. What was it? I forget. It was some sort of right wing thing and it got shut down. But I mean, with the power of God, yes, you can do that. Yes, you can open it up. You can open it up. But you have to remember that there are going to be people who are not like you. There are Christians who don't think like you do. And don't we do that sometimes, Abdom? Like we want the ministry, but we want it to be where Christians who think like us. If we're charismatic, they have to be charismatic. If we're Presbyterian, they need to be Presbyterian. And if they speak in tongues, we don't want them. If they don't speak in tongues, we don't want them. And I'm like, there are going to be Christians who think differently than you. When you go on a mission trip, that kind of stuff is thrown out, right? So once you have that social media platform, and the people who you work with might not be exactly like you, but you have a common goal, I believe God will be able to to do that, because that's what I believe the first century church was. You have people who were different. They spoke different languages. They might have had different cultures. Certain things might have been evil for you that not necessarily evil for them. And you got to turn a blind eye to that. They eat meat. We're Jews. We don't eat pork. They're eating pork over there. No, we're not even letting them in this church. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if you cut off the whole church because of that.
I think it's a true testament of how well you can converse with people that you disagree with. I think that's a true testament. And one of the things that God has led me to do is Monday through Friday, I'm on a podcast of people who are not even believers for the most part in different cases. And I'm having conversations with them. Why? Because I desire to be somebody who can talk to anybody, talk with anybody. It's like you can't shine if you can only talk to the people who think like you. And honestly, here's the real kicker. Your understanding develops faster and better by having conversations with people who don't think like you, who
Hence, get
see the world
married.
from different.
You'll grow the most that you've ever grown by getting married.
And if you don't, you need it. It's like when you spend time with God. Here's the thing: for those who don't get married and spend more time with God, God is going to push you out there more and more to be with people. And it's like if you want people in training, it's like one thing I will come against over and over and over again is anxiety. I hate anxiety. I hate anxiety with a passion. And
What
every,
anxiety?
huh?
I'm being Debo. What anxiety?
Like anxiety will steal everything God has for you because you will literally see the very blessing God has for you as a threat to your life. That's how much I hate anxiety. Like, and you and me both, Taiwan. I hate addiction as well. I hate addiction and I hate anxiety because no one understands. And the reason why I hate these things, as someone who's been on the side of both, I don't think the mental attacks is spoken about to the part where it's like the person is imprisoned and they themselves want to break free, but they see the exit out as destruction. They don't see it as liberation. They see it as destruction. So that's why the renewal of the minds, and I'm going to add this one, just add in the scripture, but those of you who read scripture, you know where I'm coming from, the renewal of your eyes as well. Renewal of the mind and the renewal of your eyes. You renew the mind, your eyes will be renewed. And when your eyes are renewed, you start to see things different. But the thing is, the trainings that I've been doing is in order to change your eyes, you need to change what you say. That's why I started stop saying the word proud. That's why I started saying stop saying certain things. That's why I started saying the proper word usage because when I use the proper word usage, I see it for what it is. Better. I'm gonna give a big one. We're at the end of the stream, so I doubt I'll get demonetized. If I do, who cares? That's why I don't call it abortion. That's why I call it child sacrifice. Do you see what I did just there? Do you see how one word has a bigger weight than the other? Because you frame it that way, now it's like you will say no all the time, but abortion could find justifications. That's why it's called adultery and not. That's why it's called adultery and not an affair,
Not a fling, not an
not a fling.
entanglement.
Do you see how framing the right word makes the difference? That's why when you change the way you speak, you change the way you see. And when you change the way you see, you change the way you think. So that
Yeah,
was
that's
that.
that's really amazing. I appreciate that, and I really hope that that blesses a lot of people. We do that a lot in the ministry. is the words that you're using. We often feel like the way that we feel must be expressed, and that is not true. That is a deception, because as much as we
Express yourself. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's a sin. That's the devil. That is the devil. There are so many devil songs. Okay, do it till you're satisfied. Do what? What are you talking about? What if the person wants to sin? What if you, well, when you're in Christ, you don't want to sin. Are you kidding me? Jesus wanted to sin. If he didn't want to sin, it wouldn't have been called a temptation. It's a temptation because you want to do it. So when Satan said, bow to me and I will give you all of these kingdoms, that was a temptation. That means Jesus wanted to bow. This is Jesus Christ. So I'm like, if you think that you will never feel like doing something, well, that's because there's a sin nature in you. Jesus did not have a sin nature, but he still was tempted. So stop telling people that you're full of sin and that you're always going to sin. Jesus was without sin, but he
I'm,
was
I'm, I'm,
still
I'm
tempted.
gonna land the plane. I'm gonna land the plane here. We'll be here another hour and a
I'm
half
just saying, like, you gotta remember, guys, you're going to feel like it sometimes, but
next week.
change your words. Change your words. You just don't have to say it. You don't have to express it. You're angry. Don't sin. Say something different. If you feel like, remember that every time my wife and I got into an argument, I would just go and pray for people, just because. Soon we stopped arguing because I would just continue to just pray for people, and we started changing our words up. So it's like,
And
yeah,
it's a
you're right. You're
difference.
right. We're gonna be here for a while. I got
We we
pull my
listen.
coattail. Pull it.
I'll put we landed. We gonna land the plane here, as my boy Viper would say on his podcast. We're gonna just pull the plug here, and next week, who knows what happened next week? This was good though, but I appreciate everybody. I look at that. That said, Matt knows us. But yeah, we're gonna land the plane here. I got to make a few errands throughout the day, and gonna spend some time with family throughout the day as well. So, because it's still the weekend, and I am going to enjoy this time before Monday comes around, and we get back to. Well, actually, no. I'm gonna power of words. I don't know what's gonna happen Monday. The Bible says don't worry about tomorrow, so I ain't gonna even worry about what's gonna happen tomorrow or Monday. I'm gonna enjoy today.
It's a
So
great day. It's always a good Monday's gonna be a great day. As long as I'm in it, it's gonna be a great day. I'm telling you. And if
uh, it's
if
gonna be
you're in
very
it,
great.
it's going to be very great.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's about to be very great, very good.
Come on.
But yeah. That being said, I'm going to talk. We're all going to talk to you all later. Later, as in, well, I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. But as far as the Acknowledgement podcast, we'll be here next Saturday. Thank you all for your time. If you all enjoyed this episode, do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, type in Yofi Smith as well in the YouTube search, and subscribe to him as well. And most of all, you, you make sure you share this with a friend. This is Abaddon and Yofi Smith, and we are out. See ya.